Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 6 of What If Naruto Became the Shadow of Konoha. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends on your social media platform. And also guys, go ahead and check out the brand new episode over on Anime King 2 of What If Naruto Was Legendary, Uchiha X Namikaze. And enjoy that guys, and also stay tuned for a brand new episode coming over Anime King 3. If you're new, yes, you heard that correctly. I indeed have 3 channels that I post What If on: Anime King 2, Anime King 3. And if you're new and this is the first time you hear my voice, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and your support, and yeah, without further ado, would you say begin this new episode, start the intro. So the last time we left off, Sakura came over. She was worried about Naruto. Before she made him breakfast and left, she left her house key and a few items that she wanted him to pick up, because she didn't want him just stay in house all day and just sulk to himself. So she gave him that errand to do. He went to pick up the things, and he also found himself going towards the orphanage that he used to live at. He didn't know why. Arriving there, he found himself in a seat about to adopt children, as he didn't know what the hell that he was doing. The woman noticed his whisker marks. Her eyes went wide in fright, and she begged him not to hurt her. As she passed out, as Naruto sighed, she remembered him from the orphanage days, and seems as she thought that he was gonna come here to hurt her or something like that. He then met 2 kids, Aim and Ichigo, as he played with them for a while. As the state that they were in, Naruto looked towards them with a smile on his face, as he promised that he would come back and adopt them. As they were shocked by that, as Aim hugged him and thanked him, as he had played with her, and he was a good person. As Ichigo waved goodbye towards Naruto, with that Naruto made his way. As he went to talk to Tsunade after that, Tsunade was confused about all of these things that he wanted to do, adopting children, as she wondered if he was rushing into things. She told him the precautions for them, as Naruto told him that he would need all the money from the HH series. Even though she hadn't done finishing off paying off her debt yet, well, it was his in the first place. So she signed them back over to him. And he also wants some of the money to go to the orphanage, and he also wants another one to be built. As many kids were being, well, ostracized because the orphanage was too full of kids, and it was just one of them. Tsunade told all the precautions that he had to go through, as he told her that he would do them all. Naruto made his way to the hospital as he gave Sakura back her key. That was when he found out that his friend, Tomo, his mother, had died. As Naruto went around, trying to find Tomo everywhere, until he came back home. Tomo was there as he was in a bad shape. After a while, Naruto convinced him to move in here with him, as Tomo was happy. He'd rather live here than go to live with any of his other relatives in the elemental nation, as he thanked Naruto. As Naruto made his way out, the next morning he came back. Naruto was shocked as he thought that he got the wrong apartment, but it was actually his. Tomo was a clean freak to do with his mother, and the apartment was never so clean before. Naruto hasn't been getting much sleep lately, as he was sent on a mission, Tsunade unaware of his status of not sleeping that much. Him along with Shikamaru, Ino, and Sai, as Naruto was supposed to be the one to watch the checkpoints, but he ended up passing out. Lack of sleep, he fell asleep, as Naruto was shocked when the earpiece went off in his ear by Shikamaru. Chaos happened so quickly as he took off. Shikamaru took on a few of the samurais by himself. They were trained warriors, not that much when it comes to word chakra, but they would fight down to the last man in what they believe in. Shikamaru got stabbed. It was a way to defeat the enemy. As he got stabbed as he lay there bleeding out on the ground, he took care of the enemy as he just watched the clouds drift past him lazily. So yeah guys, those basically as we left off. You guys can switch across the play sector for yourself. So this will be this new episode. Naruto was currently holding on to his katana, just like how his sensei Tiger had taught him, One of the samurais scoffed. This little ninja think that he can go toe to toe with a Kinjutsu master. Ninjas are always so arrogant. The leader, the one with the scar on his face, said nothing as he moved. Just in time, Naruto brought up his blade as the blade clashed against it. As Naruto was still not experienced enough in Kinjutsu, as the others rushed towards him from his other flank, trying to take him down. As he moved, his black cloak got torn. Mind-body, disturbing jutsu. The samurai closed his eyes as he tried to keep his mind in check as him and Butterfly struggled together. If the samurais were one thing, they had a strong mindset. Really powerful. As the captain felt like he was going after Crow before twisting towards Butterfly, who was currently trying to break through their mental control, but Naruto flashed in front of him. When it comes towards speed, Naruto was just too fast. He blocked the blade, forcing the commander to jump back. I see, the commander said, as chakra erupted on his blade. As the commander came towards him, as Crow clashed with him with the katana, not using any more of his rather deadliest jutsu that could end this battle rather quickly. After all, Konoha shouldn't be involved in this. On the other hand, Ino had invaded the other samurais. She broke down their mental defenses, focused on their insecurity and fear. The commander had to dodge as one of his own samurais tried to attack him, as Crow jumped back, as Naruto watched. As he watched as the commander place a blade through his own soldier. These ninjas will not have your soul, the man said, as he gently placed his comrade on the ground. Hurry and attack them! Ino projected quickly in Naruto's head, but he could not bring himself to do anything right now to break this moment as he watched the man lay his friend on the ground. Thank you for freeing me, Commander. Kill these bastards, Samurai said. You killed your own teammate, said Naruto. The same he would have done for me, the commander said. I admit you're somewhat good and fast, but with my defensive skill, there's no way you get through. There was a sudden explosion, but neither of them looked away. Crow, Owl is down, Butterfly projected into his head. Go help him, I'll take care of this, said Naruto, as Ino made her way forward, reaching Owl. Meanwhile, as Sai was surrounded by two samurais, as they walked towards him, as he was standing at the edge of the road. Without hesitation, Sai jumped in the air. He pulled out a large scroll, as he drew a large hawk that caught him. As he wrote something quickly, snakes emerged from his scroll, rushing towards the samurais, as they flailed and tried to cut through the snakes. Sai created two bats and attached paper bombs, as he flashed down right towards samurais' faces. One of the samurais stepped up, as he forced chakra into his blade, and swinged it through the air. An arc of chakra exploded outwards, clashing against the bats, as a violent explosion went off in mid-air. The hawk that Sai was on exploded. As he was thrown, he crashed his back into the side of the mountain. As he looked up, there was another explosion. As the mountain started to fall down, many rocks collapsing down on him. The samurais were eventually able to cut each other free from the snakes, as they were no longer bound, as they made their way down the cliff face. He's running, one of them said, as he was a samurai wearing a swastika necklace, as he caught on to Sai's trail, just like a ninja to abandon their comrades. The other, younger samurai said, do not underestimate them, the older one said. It might not be one of honor, but these ninjas does have a code of their own. The younger samurai huffed, as he ran to catch up to the retreating ninja. Both of them came to a stop when they saw him standing there, with a paper bomb burning on his finger already. A trap, the younger one said. How? There was no time to... The older one rushed forward as Squid threw the paper bomb against the trap that Owl had set up earlier. A massive explosion went off that swallowed the entire area that would have reduced a normal man to dust. No one could have predicted, though, that the samurai armor protect them against the flame. The samurai burst out of the flame as he sliced right through Sai's stomach. Sai pulled out his ink jar and threw the ink as the thing turned into a mass of snakes that bit every open area on the samurai armor. The samurai died without a sound. The flame died down as the other one was too, engrossed in the flames as his face was badly burned, his arms being melted. The armor intensified the heat even more as his body was cooked alive inside, but you could see that he was still trying to crawl out of the flames. Squid collapsed against a tree as his intestines were being spilled out of his body. He pulled the mask from his sweaty face and fell in the untouched grass. Sai wanted to feel the sun warmth on his skin, When Danzo was assigned into Naruto's team, the first thing that Sai was startled by was the warmth of the sun compared to the root underground dark base. It danced on his skin like touch of a smile. The sound, the peaceful harmony. That was a picture that you could not draw. You just had to live in the moment and capture it. The perfect painting. Meanwhile, Ino stopped crying. It was getting harder for Ino to see as the tears gathered behind her mask. She managed to get to Shikamaru in time, but the fear had stopped her heart. The both of them had been best friends for a long time now, so it was bad to see him in this state. You should be stabilized until you get back to Konoha. As she bandaged his chest, he gave a weak smile as his head was in her lap. He could comfortably fall into unconsciousness knowing that she would keep him safe. "This is for my husband!" A sudden scream said, Ino so engrossed in helping Shikamaru, and with him in no state to notice anything. She left herself wide open as she felt that pain in her back. She quickly flashed to Hansen and placed her fingers on the woman's head. Mind destruction jutsu. It was like a paper bomb had been placed inside the woman's head. As her head exploded, raining brain matter and blood all over Ino. No, Ino was drenched, and her hair. She cursed as she reached behind her and pulled the sharpened piece of stick out of her shoulder. Suddenly, there was a large explosion as Ino covered Shikamaru as the wagon exploded outwards, firing wooden shrapnels everywhere. A few seconds earlier, as Naruto moved, twin giant Rasengans coming from his cloak as he slammed it into the samurai's blade that was coating with chakra. The samurai looked into Naruto's eye holes of his mask. As the man knew that he was dead, this was too much. The power was incredible. The explosion was wild as Naruto jumped back as he was protected by his cloak. As he stood there, his shirt was torn badly. He had tried to go up against the man with Kenjutsu, but he stood no chance in Kenjutsu. That was the man art. He lived and fight and train in that field, so he stood no chance. He stepped in front of the man. The man was still alive. He was barely breathing. "I'm sorry," said Naruto. "If we had met under any other circumstances, then I would have..." The samurai smiled as he heard emotions behind the mask. "It has been years since I've been bested by another samurai, or a ninja." He coughed. In the end, the way of a warrior is death. As the man succumbed to death, as Naruto heard screaming, as he flashed away and appeared right where Ino was. As they looked towards the last civilian, "I guess we'll have to kill her," Ino said. "She's a civilian," said Naruto. "We can't leave any witnesses. If things had gone to plan, the civilians wouldn't have seen us, and we would have left them alone. But this turned into one big giant mess. We have to kill her." "Please no," the young woman cried as she tried to get away from Ino's grip. "You monsters! Monsters!" Ino flicked the kuna in her hand, but her hand was grabbed by Naruto. "We have to," Ino said. "No, we could. As Naruto tried to find the answer, "You could erase her memory. Any ninja can tell that her memory has been interfered with." "Like who?" "Like the ones who have employed us," said Naruto. "Good point," said Ino. "I'll do it," she said. "Just let me go. You're hurting me." Naruto quickly released her hand, as he was unaware that he was holding on to her so tight. She then turned back towards Naruto. "If we leave her out here, at the mercy of bandits, without her memory, she will still die. Or get an even worse fate. And what if she does survive? She will always wonder what happened to her. It will eat away at her insides until she's a hollow shell of paranoia and distrust." Ino placed her hand across the woman's forehead as the woman screamed. "So you're saying that it would be better if we kill her," said Naruto. "There are fates worse than death," said Ino. As she started to work on the woman's brain, Naruto crossed his arms. He looked around. Where's Sai? He stood still as he gathered nature energy, as he searched for Sai. As Ino then saw his face change, the fear that he couldn't accept. From her point of view, he just blinked out of reality, as he moved off with such speed that she couldn't even see him. The ground was upturned as he ran, as the trees were blasted out of his way. He ran so quickly, there was no time to leap or move. He just ran through everything in his path. "Sai!" he said, as Naruto arrived to see Sai lean up against a tree, a hand on his stomach. "Sai!" said Naruto, as Naruto didn't get a response. As he tried to shake Sai, but nothing. Meanwhile, Ino let the woman fall after she finished her jutsu. The moment she turned back, a strong gust of wind as Naruto appeared so quickly, it pushed her back. "Ino, you have to heal Sai. He's hurt. He's not moving," said Naruto, as Naruto pulled her down to her knees over Sai. but Ino could already see it. Naruto, she said. Fix him, said Naruto, his voice was trembling. Naruto, he's dead, she said. But Shikamaru's alive, and we need to get him to hospital, she said. As Naruto looked towards Sai corpse. As he looked towards the corpse, his mind was going in disarray. Sai was dead. It's all my fault. It was all his fault. Anger filled every fiber of his being as chakra swirled around him from the fox. Damn it! Damn it! As he cursed as the chakra whipped through the air. As Naruto leveled the entire mountain as he turned, he ripped across the entire land. His rage, becoming so powerful, he teared through the mountainside, collapsed in the mountains. He heard laughter in the pits of his stomach. Ino was paralyzed with fear as she felt the power. As the tail started to grow behind Naruto, as he started to go berserk. The red chakra cloak around him this time. Ino realized that the entire mountain was coming down, as she threw a paper bomb right at Naruto's feet, exploding the ground as he fell into the chasm. He landed safely. It wasn't a long jump, but it was enough so he wouldn't kill her and Shikamaru by destroying everything around them. As she moved over to pull Shikamaru away, as the mountainside collapsed down, rocks came crushing down. As Naruto cursed the heavens, he couldn't put up with it any longer. He couldn't, as 6 tails of chakra was behind him. He couldn't do this anymore. He couldn't let his friends suffer because of what he carried inside of him. 7 tails came out. Why me? What the hell did I ever do to you? As he shoved his claw hand into the seal, trying to claw the fox out of his life. Another tail emerged. Finally. The fox roared as his shape was almost complete. No. The fox was alarmed by that. Despite using up 8 tails, trying to condemn Naruto's mind, Naruto shrugged it off. Screw you, he said. The world was already screwed up for him to release this beast. As the tail started to decrease, he soon found himself in a crater so large it looked like a meteor had been pulled from the heavens. As he looked around at all the destruction, the grief was there. The grief was still there as always. This is far from over, the fox said to him. Time skip. Ino carried Shikamaru down the road. Physical strength was not her strong point, so she couldn't take him through the trees. As she heard footsteps, Ino didn't care that Naruto looked like shit, and that he was only wearing his mask and torn pants. Get Shikamaru to the hospital now. She did not flinch as she looked at him, a man that almost turned to a giant demon fox. Naruto made a clone and took Shikamaru, as the clone sped off in the cloak mode. He should be there soon, said Naruto. Ino sighed in relief. As she leaned against a tree, you done crying like a dramatic little girl, she asked. I didn't. The mountain's not there anymore, Naruto, she said. So much for not leaving any evidence. Even when he left clones behind to clean up, he hadn't focused on the mountain. As he turned, the mountain was really gone. Did you manage to save Sai's body? Said Ino, finishing the sentence for him. No, you burned it. As Naruto looked towards his hand, he didn't have any emotion inside of him anymore. The cry, to feel any more pain. It's my fault. That is what you said. What did you mean by that? Said Ino. As Ino looked calm. Explain something to me, Naruto, she said. How exactly did we get caught by surprise? As he mumbled something. I didn't hear that. Can you repeat? She said. I fell asleep. You what? She screamed at him. As he felt himself being roughly pushed into a tree bark. Not even a genie would make a stupid, idiotic mistake like that. You better come up with a damn better excuse, she said. I swear, Shikamaru almost died because of your stupid mistake. And Sai did die. I swear I should just kill you now and tell everyone that Samurai did it. But he just looked defeated. The Kyuubi. So you're blaming this on that demon, she said. No, I blame myself, he said. Time skip. When they finally arrive in Konoha, they enter through the secret ANBU entrance. The Shadow Clone already reported back that Shikamaru would make a full recovery. As Ino and Naruto went their separate ways, she went towards the hospital. As Naruto went towards the training ground, Naruto got a few curious stares as he was just wearing pants and masks. As he went to his room to put on some clothes, then back to the training area. As Naruto walked in and pulled his katana, as he saw Tiger. Come to die, said Tiger. Perhaps, said Naruto. Without warning, Tiger struck. This was probably one of the most stupidest decisions of Naruto's life. After coming back from a mission like that, physically and mentally exhausted, as the metal sword came towards him, he realized he didn't want to die. He had things to do. Orphanage to build, kids to adopt, He had a dream to make the world a better place, even if it was only a small part of it. As Naruto found the perfect twirl with his blade, Tiger was momentarily shocked. As Naruto knocked away his own blade, as Tiger stopped. Congratulations. Finally, no mistake. The style was delivered perfectly. Tiger held out his hand. With a brush of wind chakra, his blade returned back to him. Now, we will work on your wind chakra. It's the worst control of elemental jutsu I've ever seen. Wait, what? Said Naruto. You treat wind like it's fire. Like you're meant to be flashy and explosive. As Naruto felt a cool breeze wrapped around him, but there was this deadly intent underneath it. Wind is sudden and sharp. Speed. It can be a gale of wind or a gentle breeze. Other than that cloak that you have, everything else about you is untrained. Now come, you came here to release that anger of yours. Then fight. As Naruto came to block the blade, but Tiger pulled his legs away from him by a gust of wind. As Tiger brought his blade down, but Naruto rolled out of the way. Or die, said Tiger. Time skip. As Naruto limped home, without thought he crept into the window, sliding into the living room. Shit. As Naruto turned around to see Tomu had fallen to the floor in fear. Tomu had been cooking dinner, as the clone was sitting there, reading a book about seals. As the clone turned, "It's okay, Tomu, it's just me." As Naruto blinked, he'd almost forgot that he was living with someone. You're covered in blood," said Tomu. "Yeah," said Naruto, as he made his way to the bathroom. Tomu looked over at the clone. "That was real, Naruto?" "I'm not gonna worry you every time I go on a mission," the clone said. "Something happened. Something really bad. It then poofed away. Wait!" But it was already gone. As Naruto was in the shower, as the blood washed off his body, there was not a single scar on his body. The events of the mission was still on his mind. As his mind felt so racked with pain, he had to focus not to think about it too much. It would be too much for his mind right now. After a while, there was a knock on the door. "Dinner's ready," said Tomu. As Naruto cleaned up, as he put on his pajamas, as Naruto came out and collapsed in a chair. "I made ramen," Tomu said, as he noticed the atmosphere was different, as he placed on the bowls. "Hey, aren't you eating? I thought ramen was your favorite." As Naruto looked at the ramen. "What happened?" said Tomu. "I made a mistake," said Naruto. A soft silence was there for a second, until Tomu spoke. "Well, it's simple. Don't make that mistake again." As Naruto shook his head, he would gladly carry the burden of the Kyuubi, if it meant that he never made that mistake again. "Believe me, I never will." Tomu got the idea as he went towards the kitchen cabinets, a part of the house that was unknown to Naruto, as he brought a bottle of alcohol. "Here." "Where did you get this from?" said Naruto. "I stole it," said Tomu, with a shrug. "You can't steal things," said Naruto. "It's fine, I just took it from one of the dragon bars. It's like the store. Steal from the bad and give to the poor," said Tomu, as he poured himself and Naruto a cup of steak. "Besides, now that I'm living with you, they haven't touched me at all, you know. They're more scared of you than the Okage." As Naruto simply watched a cup of steak, as he downed it all in a single go, as the taste was unique. As Naruto poured another. "So," said Tomu, "you kill people?" As Naruto frowned. "I kill people," he said. Time skip. Nanimai. Nagiba woke up with a grinding headache, as she looked around confused, as a wagon wheel screeched around the rusted hinge. "Mom? Dad?" The 23-year-old looked around in fear, as she did not understand what was going on. Forests and hills, and rocks around her, as she wondered what happened to their samurai guards, the parents, or the road. She collapsed in the dirt after a while of looking around. She was all alone, like she was the only person in the world. "Are you okay?" Nanamai screamed as she looked up at the overturned wagon, as there was a man standing there, brown hair that was done in a ponytail. She looked around. "I don't know where I am. I was traveling with my family, but I don't know where they are." "Maybe I can help you," the man said. "What happened?" "I was traveling with my family to my aunt's funeral in the land of waterfall, but then something happened. Maybe I fell and hit my head, but I just can't remember," she said. "Well, it's not safe still here. They're bandits. I was heading towards the land of waterfall for some business. You can travel with me. I can take you to your family there." "Maybe," she said. "Maybe we just got separated. Thank you so much. I don't mean to be a burden." "Nonsense," the man said, as she introduced herself to the man. "Oh, I'm Arya," he said. Arya smiled as the two of them set off down the road. She looked towards him suspiciously. You're not scared of any bandits or ninjas? Ninjas aren't anything to be afraid of, he said. He leaned towards her and whispered, I'm a sage. Oh my, she said. You don't look like a holy person. Well, you see, Arya said, sages have the ability to cross borders without being pestered by silly ninjas. They don't mess with us. A smile came on her face, that she was traveling with someone so respectable. I'm glad that you were passing by, she said. My dad always told me ninjas were extremely dangerous. Why would he say that? Arya asked. He believed the reason why the world is so dangerous right now is because the daimyo employ ninjas. Back when samurais reigned, there was hardly that many deaths or wars at all. Battles were fought with honor back then. Well, I'm sure not all ninjas are bad, the man said. And some of them don't have a choice but to accept the job. She shook her head. There's always a choice. Well, in my experience, every side always have a story, Arya said. It took them 3 days to reach the border and another to reach the village where her family were. As they neared the gate, thank you so much, she said, as she had a blush on her face as she came to the end of their long journey. He gave her his tent and cooked her dinner and carried her when she could no longer feel her feet. She quickly dived in and stole a kiss from him. As Arya blushed, Be careful, he said. Are you sure that you don't need any more help? Oh, I'm fine, she said. He smiled. It's been a pleasure, he said, as she gave him a generous bow. Thank you for all your help once again. With that, he moved off, as one of the ninja guards came up to her. Do you need help finding someone? She turned towards him. I don't need any stupid ninja's help. I can find my family without you. Sort of funny how you hate ninja, considering the company that you keep, the man said. What do you mean, she said, confused. The man that escorted you here, he was a ninja. No, he wasn't. He was a traveling sage. You have no idea, don't you? That man has chakra levels large enough for an entire army. If he's a sage, it's not just with prayers. He must be able to use senjutsu. As Nanamai was speechless. But why, she thought? Because ninjas have heart too. She remembered what he said. As he was no longer there, he was gone over the horizon. Time skip. One of the samurais know a little genjutsu. Crew never saw them coming. Naruto froze. The moment Shikamaru was out of the hospital, they reported to Snatty. And Naruto couldn't believe what Shikamaru just said. After all, he was the one that fell asleep, but Shikamaru told her that. Do you know what they sound like? Said Snatty. And she looked at all of them. This sounds like bullshit. She signaled to the ANBU that was always guarding the room, as he locked the office to private senjutsu. Mask off, all of you. The moment she saw the expression on their faces, as she turned towards him, Naruto knew that he was screwed. Naruto, what did you do? Why are they covering for you at the cost of their careers? Why is my intelligence division getting reports that the Sound government think we're planning to invade them because they were siding of the 90th Fox in their borders? If we didn't have your clone to prove that you were here the entire time, this could have been a disaster. I said no evidence left behind. No flashy jutsu. Be subtle. Be less Naruto, she said. As Naruto looked towards her. I take full responsibility, he said. Of course you damn will. When someone tell me what the hell really happened. Shikamaru told her the entire truth this time. As a squad leader, I'm the one that's supposed to take all responsibility, he said. Ino crossed her arms. Well, I'm not taking responsibility for this shit, she said. Snatty was at a loss on what to do. A few missions so far proved that he could be one of the greatest agents that she could ever have. But then, this came and destroyed all of his credibility. What kind of ninja fall asleep on a mission? The problem, like that, caused a ninja career. But there was no way in hell she could revoke Naruto's ninja career. The elders would be breathing down her back. The villagers had begun to rely on Naruto for their safety. The daimyo would ask questions, and the other villages would be watching her like a hawk, ready to swoop down, like they were going for a prey. I'm putting you on probation. Shouldn't he be kicked out of ANBU or something, said Ino. Shikamaru shrugged his shoulders. It was the same reason why he covered for Naruto. Naruto was too valuable. The pros outweigh the cons. What does probation mean, said Naruto. Whatever I feel like it means, said Snatty. All of you, dismissed. As they put their masks on and left the office. Hey, Shikamaru. Thanks for shut up. Just shut up, said Shikamaru. And don't make me regret it. I promise. It won't happen again, said Naruto. Shikamaru sighed. He patted a hand on Naruto's shoulder. I've turned in my papers for a reassignment. Since I can't go back in the field for a while, I'm gonna be sent to Santa handle some business. Good luck, he said. as Shikamaru could only place one hand in his pocket because of the sling as he went down the hall. "Don't think we're done quite yet," said Ino. "Meet me at Choji Family Restaurant for dinner. You're paying." Naruto gulped. Later that day, he was anxious as he walked in, as he saw Ino in the far corner. As he made his way over there and sat down, she didn't say anything until the waitress arrived. And then she ordered everything on the menu, as she stared at him. "After I calmed down, I realized that what happened out there wasn't you. You've always been someone to protect your friends no matter what." "What's wrong with you?" she said, as Naruto could not lie under her gaze. "I haven't been able to sleep lately, and it affected my mission," he said. Ino frowned. "That is what sleeping pills are for. Haven't you asked Sakura? She makes some rather effective ones." "I have," said Naruto, "but they don't. It's like alcohol. I'm not affected by it." "Really?" said Ino as she waved over a waitress. "Some steak for us too." Right away the woman said. She knew Ino rather well. "How does it work?" asked Ino. "I'm not sure," said Naruto, "but I think it's sort of like how I heal so fast. My body attacked the alcohol like a weird substance, and it removes it rather quickly, so it doesn't affect me," said Naruto. "Well, that's how I think of it." The hospital has a more detailed report. "Painkillers don't last long on me either. And all of this is because of 9 tails," she asked. "Sort of," said Naruto. "We kind of had an argument, and in retaliation, he isn't letting me sleep." "An argument? Wait, you can talk to the thing?" "Look, Ino," said Naruto. "I really don't want to talk about this," he said. "No," said Ino as the waitress came over and placed the bottles in front of them. "No," she said. The waitress was gone. "Because of you, we almost died, and I want to know what is going on in your head. Because I thought you had the thing under control. I separated from his chakra, but we're still mentally connected. When we don't agree, he sends images into my head. He's like a devil on my shoulder. It's a nightmare. And the worst part is, knowing that I'm stuck with him for the rest of my life. It was my weakness that allowed him to get to me, and caused me to mess up." "It's a he," Ino said. "Not exactly," said Naruto. "How so?" she asked. "Well, it's a demon, and demons don't have gender, according to it. It's a he because that's how my mind projects him. If it chooses though, it can probably be a he, she, or both." "And what are you planning to do about it?" she asked. "I don't know," he said. "That's not what I want to hear. You have to deal with this, Naruto," she said. "Or it's gonna happen again, and you better deal with it. Because in my opinion, I think the fox is mostly your problem. But you still have yet to cope with the pressures of your new job," she said. The waitresses came and brought dinner to the table. As Ino smiled, "Let's eat." As Naruto watches, Ino took a bite from every plate that he brought to the table. "I'm sorry, Ino," said Naruto. "Spare me," she said. "I'm just trying to help the next person that is stuck with you." What do you mean?" said Naruto. "I am transferring full-time to the TNI division." "Because of me?" said Naruto. "You may be the hero of the village, but not everything's about you," she said. "I'm tired," she said. "It's easier to destroy a mind than heal it." Time skip. There wasn't a funeral. As Root, go over into ANBU, sign new minimum of people, so there wouldn't be a point for a funeral. As Sakura and Naruto stood in front of Sai gravestone, as Sakura placed down the flowers, as Naruto didn't know how he could live with himself, until he entered Sai's room. All of the emotion that he couldn't show on his face, he had drawn them in his sketches. All of their happy memories were in those images, as a tear slipped down Naruto's cheek, as it was an image of Sai, Sakura, Kakashi, Naruto, and Yamato together. As Naruto had framed it, he placed it in front of Sai gravestone. He has made many mistakes, some because of the fox, but most because of himself. As he stood in front of the headstone of Sai, he knew what his greatest mistake was. He would always regret chasing after someone who didn't want to be found, who didn't want to come home, who didn't want to be safe. His earlier career of a ninja had been nothing but wasteful. You never realize what you have, never see the ones that were there, until it's too late. Team 7 was always complete, but now, they just lost a member. Time skip. As Naruto's eyes felt exhausted, as he went through another pile of scrolls in the Forbidden Library written by his father. None of these books have any details on how to mentally steal a demon away from his vessel, and most of them contain, well, difficult Fuinjutsu that was just beyond his level. He yawned. Books were never a strong point. As he grabbed a few of them, as he snuck them out of the Hokage's tower, as Naruto made his way back, as he just went through the window, arrived in his room, as he placed on the things in the corner that he would go over later, he heard a loud thud. He locked his window and made his way. As he opened the door, what's going on? As he saw the living room, the couch was upturned. As Naruto saw Tomo threw a pot. As the clone tilted his head, it slammed into the wall. I can't even have an argument with the real you, said Tomo. Damn clones, you're impossible. Naruto was confused as he dismissed his clone. The information rushed in his head. Tomo wanted space. He appreciated Naruto's attention after the following months after his mother's death. But it was becoming too much. I don't understand, said Naruto. What if something happens to you? As Tomo grabbed his hair in frustration. I don't need a clone trailing me to the supermarket, or a clone following me every time I leave the house, or even seeing a second I'm in the house, he said. You never know what can happen, said Naruto. I'll keep them out of sight. That's not the point, Tomo said. I'm 12 years old. I don't need you to babysit me. But you're only 12, said Naruto. Anything can happen. Tomo slapped his face. He had smuggled drugs and other illegal things out of Konoha for the past 3 years of his life. He's been threatened and got the crap beat out of him by several other gangs. He knew how dangerous the world was. But having a personal ninja bodyguard that didn't give him room to breathe was just overdoing it. Just give me some room. It's overwhelming. Naruto folded his arms. If the Aburami could bug everyone of their families, what was the problem with him sending a clone to trail Tomo? No, said Naruto. You're driving me insane, said Tomo. I can't do this anymore as he walked towards the door. Naruto flashed in front of him though, the cloak flickering on him as Tomo saw it. He ran towards the room and shut the door tight. It wasn't my fault this time, said Kurama. As Naruto went towards the door to deactivate the cloak, Tomo, he said. As he opened the door, but the window was open. He's not coming back. I know, said Naruto. Should I bring him back? As he realized that he was asking the fox advice. Well, only if we get to eat him, said Kurama. Naruto shook his head. Perhaps Tomo was better off without him. As the tattoo on his arm started to burn, as he made his way, he wondered who he had to babysit through Konoha this time. Probation was boring. What's up, said Naruto. As he arrived in the Hokage's office. What insolence, said Tiger as he was in there as well. You will address her as Hokage-sama. As Naruto turned his head and looked towards Tiger who was standing there, he muttered something to himself. Tiger wants you off probation for a solo mission. And I decide that you've done enough grunt work. Tiger is very particular about the people that he allowed to touch his blade, said Tsunade. He wants it refurnished. There's a man by the name of Kimuru Tasharu, who Tiger usually contact with. The only slight problem is, he isn't officially commissioned with the Leaf, and resides in the Hidden Ring, which we do not have the best relations. All you need to do is to sneak in the country, get the sword fixed, and get back. Without messing anything up, it's as simple as it can get. Yeah, no problem, said Naruto. As Tiger pulled his blade, he stepped towards Naruto. If anything happened to this blade, I would gladly show you why 4 Hokages had deemed it too dangerous for me to come above ground. As Naruto gulped, satisfied that he placed a little bit of fear into his heart, Tiger left. As Naruto sighed, he looked towards Tsunade. Why isn't he allowed to leave the village? That's classified information, she said. But if you are that curious, perhaps become Hokage and learn it, she said. Very funny, said Naruto, although the curiosity was eating him up inside. I would hurry up if I was you, because the longer I have to deal with a impatient Tiger, the less you're getting paid. As Naruto mumbled, he was getting paid on probation. He poofed away and entered back his room. As his room was still empty, the house was still empty, he sighed as he made his way off. Time skip. Ever since Pain's death, there's been a constant civil war for the vacuum of power. With no daimyo, there was multiple warlords that controlled various parts of the country that was trying to control the whole country. For the natives, the land started to be called the Land of War. The rain today was a cool miss that made it hard for some people. On a day like this, Sobesu was glad that she was a censor. A fight suddenly erupted between 2 civilians. Sobesu wondered if she should get involved, or just let them fight it out. One more dead body in the streets made little more difference. She then felt the unexpected creature that walked right through the front gate. She left her post and jumped from rooftop to rooftop until she found the person she was looking for. He looked like a mere civilian, his hair was tied up. But the chakra coming from him was ridiculous. He had to be a ninja. She immediately raced towards the current base of operations. In the Hidden Ring, the position changed every few weeks of who was in charge. As a native, and not loyal to the village itself, she simply offered her services as long as she get paid. That was what most of them did. As she entered, Eri-san, she said, Sabesu formed a mocking bow as she entered the warlord chamber. The size of her cleavage as she gave a mocking bow got more attention than her news. The village has an invader. Eri flashed her a smile, a gold tooth in his mouth shining brightly as he had a gold coin in his hand. Stacks of value was all over his decks. From his illegal company, he was making a lot of money. Drugs. That was a business nowadays. He had paid his way into power. Is it Genki again? That bastard cannot call it quits. I'm not sure which warlord has sent him, but the unidentified ninjas that enter our village. And I believe that he's real powerful. Eri said. I wonder what kind of deal someone made to get someone powerful like that. He's no doubt a spy. Find out how much his employer is paying him. If he's uncooperative, extract information, and then kill him. Why would I go through all that trouble? You're only paying me to watch a gate, she said. Fine, he said. I'll pay handsomely for any information worth my while. She leaned over his decks. You still haven't paid me for opening the gate to you. Or, for that night, she said. Damn you, Harpy, he said, as he slipped a portion of the money towards her. You ninjas always want to take a man's money. Pleased to do business with you, she said as she tucked it right in her bosom, as she gave him a wink and went off. Meanwhile, as Naruto walked through the tall maze of the towers, they were really high, going up straight, skyscrapers. The place was dark, like really dark. There was barely any light. As Naruto was getting pissed off, as he believed that he was walking in circles. He'd been through here before, what the hell was going on? As his nose picked up a scent of death. He could smell the blood. As he heard the soft pitter-patter of footsteps and machineries. Why do I have to get stuck with such an idiot, Kurama said. What do you mean, said Naruto. As the place started to change around him. Genjutsu. As he realized he was just outside the village, with 5 ninjas around him. As Naruto sighed in disappointment, he felt like hitting himself. Who's your employer and why are you here? He turned towards the kunoichi that spoke. She had blue hair. On her arm she had a bandana that had the symbol of fading rain. I am not here to cause any trouble, said Naruto. They had their hands together ready to attack at any moment notice. Are you here to switch sides? Eri-san will pay you better than whatever you were promised. Sabesu asked. Her opponent had fallen into her genjutsu too easily. With the amount of chocolate he had, she believed he did it on purpose. Money means nothing to me, said Naruto. Sabesu rolled her eyes. She couldn't understand those kind of people. As Naruto hand reached towards his kunai, I wouldn't do that if I were you, she said. You've walked right into a trap. And any one of these ninjas would be glad to learn what you know. Naruto still pulled out his kunai unconcerned. As all 4 of them flashed through hand signs. Torrential cage jutsu. As the rain came pouring down twists, like a vortex over his head. Tell us everything we want to know, or die. Sabesu said. As this man was really hard-headed. Wind barrier Rasengan, said Naruto. Tiger was one responsible. The reason why he learned his new jutsu. A ball of chakra came around Naruto light rotation, but it was similar to a Rasengan. With Naruto being the center of the Rasengan, it exploded outwards, blowing away all the water, forcing ninjas back. He formed hand signs, the wind whipping around him. Wave wing jutsu, he said. He spread his arms outwards. A wave of wind exploded from the core of his body. None of them saw it coming except for the center. Sabesu was the only one to dodge, as wind ripped through their bodies. Limbs were severed, torso were cut in half. When he dropped his hand, only thing that left was gore, destruction and death. As Sabesu looked towards him, she had just witnessed what had to be a S-rank jutsu, but yet his chakra hadn't even dropped one bit. She recognized that she was over her head as she went through hand sign. Water style, water dragon bullet, as the dragon formed, and getting larger and larger as it absorbed the falling raindrops. With that she ran. Naruto created a clone that created a Rasengan and drive it right through the dragon, dispersing it. As Naruto realized that his transformation had fallen, he hadn't been focused on that, as he placed it back up. As Naruto realized that she had gone far, he could go after her, or get back to his mission. As he went back towards the rain village, timeskip, Komura-san, as Naruto knocked on the door. As Naruto didn't hear anything, a few seconds passed, as he started to look around for a window, until he heard a click, as he heard various disabled of locks and seals. Will you shut up already? I'm looking for Komura, Toshio, said Naruto. Don't know him. As door was about to slam shut, but Naruto stopped it. Wait, I have a sword that need to be refurnished. Do you know anyone that fakes swords? As Naruto held the blade up, the man eyes looked towards his cabin. Come in, he said. Quickly now, heat brushed against Naruto's face as he entered, as inside felt all cozy and warm. So you're Komura, said Naruto. Not anymore. left that name years ago. It's Neria now. Neria was an older man, heavily muscled with a bald head. Didn't think my old client was alive. Haven't seen him in a long while. As he held his hand out, his Naruto gave him the blade. I have other orders from that damn warlord to complete, but I can have this finished by tomorrow evening. What am I supposed to do until then, said Naruto? People, or try to kill me. The old man chuckled. Welcome to the Hidden Rain village, he said. Time skip. As Naruto checked into a hotel for the night, as he entered his room, it was small and not really welcome, but at least it was a bed. As he dropped its transformation, he pulled seals around the room. As he walked toward the bathroom and turned on the water, he waited for it to get hot, but it never did. He cursed as he took a cold shower. After he was finished, there was a knock at the door. He threw some clothes on and transformed. As he opened the door, what do you... A woman shoved right into him. Please, help me, she said. As Naruto was surprised, it was the same woman that tried to kill him several hours ago. She peeped out in the hallway. They didn't see me. As she shut the door, as she turned back towards him, please, you got to help me. What's going on, said Naruto. You're strong. You can protect me. I never wanted to kill you. They made me. I know they're after me. I feel. And I'm a loose end. Who? Said Naruto. The warlord and his man. I was only following orders, please. You have to understand, she said. I just need somewhere safe to stay for the night. I have contacts that can sneak me out in the morning. Please. I understand, said Naruto. You can stay here. She placed a hand towards her chest. Thank you so much, she said. Irea, said Naruto. That was the name that he was going to use from now on. It was easier to remember. Sabesa, she said, and she gave him a smile. As Naruto realized he wouldn't be able to sleep, because his transformation would be dropped. I'll watch your windows. Feel free to get some sleep. Thank you. Do you mind if I use your bathroom? Go ahead. But the water isn't hot. Did you keep the pipe, she said. What does that? As Naruto's eyes followed her figure into the bathroom. Believe me, she said. It works. As she winked, as the door closed behind her. As Naruto heard the running water. Don't tell me you're falling for this, said Kurama. Naruto frowned. She might really be in trouble. And if she is, I'll never forgive myself. And I'm not really a hell-bent demon that enjoy making your life a living hell. Shut up, said Naruto. As Naruto remembered all the lessons that Uncle placed in his mind. Well, all that was thrown away when she stepped outside. Naked. Naruto took a faltering step backwards. In his panic, the transformation dropped. A leaf ninja, huh? Naruto cursed. He had to kill her, right? But he didn't want to. She was naked. She had no weapons over her. As Naruto turned towards the window to get the hell out of there, he was thrown back as a small seal exploded as he crashed into the bed. I thought you were going to protect me, she said. She leaned over him. As her naked chest was all over his face. I just want to show my appreciation. That's okay, said Naruto. She flipped over and sat on his waist. You can even keep the mask on, she said. I find it kind of kinky. As Naruto's heart was beating fast, as she started to kiss his neck going down, as she started to kiss even more, until his head leaned back as he fell unconscious. Sobesu gave a sigh of relief, as she couldn't believe how long it took for the sleeping toxin to kick in. The moment she had come inside, she had placed it on him, and it took so long. She looked at the Konoha elite. Some part of her telling her that this was over her head, but he had caught her eye. She pulled away his mask. She was surprised at what she found. Usually, people tend to hinge themselves into something more handsome, but in this case, he was more handsome with his real face. He had strange whisker marks though. It's a shame that I'll have to kill you, she said, as she withdrew a bottle of poison. Without hesitation, she plunged it into his bloodstream. Now before you die, let's see what is in that head of yours. She went through hand sign and placed her hand on his forehead, as she dived into his mind. She looked towards the brain that floated in front of her, as she started trying the traps. Before she moved forward to access it, she was confused. This was an elite ninja, yet he had no mental blocks at all. That was strange. As she started to pull at the scroll, then she felt something. A feeling of dread and despair. A killing intent then fell on her, as she gasped for breath. She tried to cancel the jutsu as she felt something grab her ankle, pulling her down. She hasn't felt fear like this since she was young, running through the streets of the rain. After her parents were killed, she swore that she would become a ninja, so she would never be afraid again. On top of Naruto's chest, she was shaking badly, as blood leaked from her nose, her mouth and ears. Then her body finally snapped as it fell over limp, her eyes hollow. Inside, Sabesa was being dragged, as she was dragged towards a cell, where she was pulled inside the bars. Nothing but horrid laughter. But guys, be in subs right here, If you want the next part, then do like, subscribe, comment down below, and turn on that bell notification as I posted. Remember, share to all of your friends and social media platform. But for now, see you guys soon. Peace.